Chair understands that amendment number 5 will not be offered. It is now in order to consider amendment number 6, printed in House Report 112-283. For what purpose does the gentleman from Georgia rise? Clerk will designate the amendment.
Amendment number 6, printed in House Report number 112-283, offered by Mr. Johnson of Georgia.
Pursuant to House Resolution 463, the gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Johnson, any member opposed, each will control 5 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Georgia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in support of my amendment to this dangerous bill, the National Right to Carry Reciprocity Act. My amendment is about protecting a state's right to decide who may carry a concealed loaded handgun within its borders. It would require the possession of or carrying of a concealed handgun in a state be subject to that state's law regarding firearm safety training, including live fire exercise. Currently, at least 34 states require applicants to complete a firearm safety training course or present proof of equivalent experience in order to obtain a concealed carry permit. 19 states require live fire instruction to obtain a carry permit. However, some states only require minimal training, such as an internet-only instruction. Even worse, however, are the states that do not require any firearm training to obtain a concealed carry permit. This bill would override state laws and require states to allow out-of-state residents to carry loaded concealed weapons in public, even if they have not met basic licensing or training requirements mandated for carrying in that state. This does not make any sense. By federally mandating recognition of all out-of-state concealed handgun permits, H.R. 822 would allow individuals who do not meet a state's live firearm training standards to carry concealed weapons within their borders and prohibit states from ever restricting carrying by those individuals. According to the Violence Policy Center, since May 2007, at least 385 people, including law enforcement officers, have been killed by individuals with concealed carry permits. None of these incidents involved self-defense. Some of these incidents included mass shootings, the most recent occurring in July at a child's birthday party at a Texas roller rink, claiming the lives of 89 innocent victims. This illustrates why states should have the right to determine who is eligible to carry firearms within their borders. They know what is best for their communities. This bill is all about the National Rifle Association and its needs, not about the American people and putting them back to work. Congress should not put its stamp of approval on this dangerous and misguided legislation. States that require a person to demonstrate that they know how to use a firearm or meet minimum training standards before obtaining a concealed carry permit should not be forced to allow out-of-state visitors to carry concealed weapons if they do not meet that state's concealed licensing requirements, especially if a state requires that individuals undergo live fire training to ensure they know how to properly operate a firearm. This is common sense. This is a common sense amendment, and it will keep Americans safe. It simply would require the possession or carrying of a concealed handgun in a state be subject to that state's law regarding firearm safety training, including live fire exercises. I urge my colleagues to support this amendment and oppose the underlying bill. Thank you, and I'll reserve the balance of
Gentleman reserves the balance of his time. For what purpose, gentleman from Texas rise?
Mr. Chairman, I oppose the amendment.
Gentleman recognized for 5 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, this amendment allows states to prohibit non-residents from carrying a concealed firearm if they did not take part in a firearm safety class that included a live fire exercise as part of the permitting process. This amendment would for the first time ever, insert the federal government into the state's concealed carry permitting process. H.R. 822, by contrast, protects each state's ability to set its own eligibility requirements for concealed carry permits. 37 states require some degree of firearms training. The gentleman from Georgia's home state, interestingly, does not require any training, and thus, under this amendment, its citizens would not be able to enjoy the federal grant of reciprocity provided by H.R. 822. The states carry out their training requirements in a number of ways. Some states allow applicants to certify their proficiency through classroom training, while other states recognize prior military or police service to meet these requirements. Virginia, for example, provides 8 different ways to meet the training requirements. This amendment is silent on a number of important issues. Is prior military or law enforcement service sufficient to meet the live fire requirement? Does an applicant need to go through this training each time they renew their permit, or is it sufficient to have completed a course the first time they applied? These ambiguities give us more reason to oppose this amendment. We know that concealed carry laws do reduce crime. A study by John Lott and David Mustard found that when concealed carry laws went into effect, murders fell by over 7% and rape and aggravated assaults fell by 5 and 7% respectively. These findings have been confirmed by 18 other studies, but none have found that concealed carry increases crime. The benefit of concealed carry laws should not be measured only by the instances of self-defense, but also by the number of crimes that are prevented from occurring in the first place. I urge my colleagues to oppose this amendment, and I'll reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman reserves the balance of his time. Gentleman from Georgia has 1 minute remaining.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I agree wholeheartedly with my colleague from Texas, Chairman Smith. This legislation does in fact insert the federal government into state licensing of firearms, and it does it in a big way. It actually eviscerates the state's ability to regulate how or the qualifications for applicants to be able to receive a concealed carry permit. As I stated earlier, 34 states require applicants to complete a firearm safety training course. Unfortunately, Georgia does not, but that does not mean that that is right or proper. I believe that other states can certainly have a more conscientious approach to gun licensing, and certainly states have had a right to do that, and I want to preserve that right. And so with that, I'll yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman's time has expired. Gentleman from Texas.
Mr. Chairman, I yield myself the balance of my time.
Gentleman's recognized for
Mr. Chairman,
3 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I am glad that the gentleman from Georgia agrees with me that this amendment does insert the federal government into the state's concealed carry permitting process. And I would simply say that that admission and the fact that that is the case is enough reason to oppose this amendment. Now I yield back to balance of my time.
Gentleman yields back the balance of his time. The question is on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Georgia. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Opinion of the chair, the ayes have it.
Chairman, I request a recorded vote.
Pursuant to Clause 6 of Rule 18, further proceedings on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Georgia will be postponed.